So you're about to release, or have you just released Kingdom of Rock?
Yeah, I'm about to release it. Yeah, it's next week in Europe and America, and it's already been released in Japan.
Excellent. So how's the reaction been to it from the Japanese so far?
Yeah, it started to come in reviews now, and they all been great so far. So it's okay.
Oh, well, that's good. That's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah,
So, with Freefall, from my understanding, this is more your sort of exclusively your own project. Is that right?
yeah, that's right. It's my solo project. I've done a lot of projects for Frontiers Records, and but this is my own. And it started. The first plan was that I was going to be the singer, but and maybe have a couple of guests. But then I had a lot of guests, and now I'm only singing a couple of songs.
Excellent. So, I mean, it must be fun getting to play with all these other people because I mean, from what I've seen of your career and my understanding of your career, um, that seems to be your thing as a session musician, and then working on other projects with other people. But you get to meet some pretty awesome musicians and singers and stuff. You know, I mean that's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm a fan of them all, so it's really an honor to write music for my favorite singers. Like some of them, I grew up with their music, and yeah, so that's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome, eh? And yeah, I mean, especially the fact that you're a fan. I mean, dude, like you say, it'd be a huge honor.
Yeah, it's really, especially on the new one. Tony Martin is singing, and I listen to his Black Sabbath album like I listen to Iron Maiden or Judas Priest. So it feels almost unreal to have him, on the album. It's great.
That's the thing. I mean, for most of your career, that's the thing that you've been doing is writing and recording, producing, and everything for a lot of other people.
Mm.
Who who's been your favourite that you've worked? Well, some of your favourites that you've worked with so far.
That's so hard to say, but one of the first projects that I did was with Russell Allen and John Lande with the Alan Lande albums, and that especially the first album was not only great to do, but it opened a lot of doors for me. I got a lot of offers after that album because many people liked it, and that was when I got in contact with the guys in Primal Fear, and they asked if I wanted to write songs, and then later on I became a member. So that was great for me, and also Bob Catley was really cool to work with, and there's so many. It's hard to say. I like it all. I never say yes to anything if I don't like it. So all of the singers and all the projects are really my favorites.
Oh, that's massive, and it must be an incredible joy to to be writing all this stuff, and having other people saying, "Oh yes, please,"
Yeah,
and putting their hand, because most people, I mean, I know as a writer myself,
yeah.
you're always extremely critical, and to have other musicians come and say, "Oh yeah, would love to do that," I mean, that's got to be awesome.
Yeah, it's great. But I have this, Frontiers are really supporting me, and they are starting a lot of this project, like Alan Landon, Starbreaker, and put me in contact with these great guys, and uh, but it's yeah, I just have fun, and write what I want to hear with these singers, and they, for most of the time, they like it.
So, do you write with these people in mind, or do you just write whatever you write normally, or however you write, and if it goes wherever, or as I say, do you write with people in mind?
Yeah, I have the singer in mind, absolutely. And for example, when Jordan Turner he said yes that he could maybe sing a song on my album. That night I didn't sleep. You know, I had maybe 50 melodies spinning around in my head, and I was thinking, oh, I want to do the perfect melody for his voice. And so yeah, that feels good. It wouldn't be that good if I had a stock with old songs and just send it out to singers. It's more fun to write, and I can hear the voice in my head when I write the song, and it feels better for me.
Well, that's interesting. So you write essentially live on the spot, or is it some? Do you write stuff and put it away for later type thing? How do you work there?
I write it in my own studio, and when I know that the singer gonna do it, I make a demo as good as I can, and I try to copy the singer a bit on the demo, even if I can't. But I try to do something similar because most of the time I can't go to, if Joe Turner recording in the States, and I don't have the time and money to go there. So it's important for him to have a really good demo that he can understand the song and the music. And so I do a lot here in my studio, and then I send out demos and to the singers, and some of them come to my studio if they live around here. John Lande, he came, and Rebecca came over too, and that was great.
Oh, that's got to be cool because I mean, being in the studio by yourself can sometimes be a little bit alienating, and you won't get quite so much of that buzz that you get from being in the studio with these guys.
Yeah, but I'm used to it. I always worked like that. I don't remember ever that I wrote some songs, with the whole band in a studio or anything. It's too expensive to do it. So, the clock is ticking. So it's better. I like to sit on my own, and sometimes when I co-write, for example, with the guys in Primal Fear, we are always sitting like we do now, Skype, and yeah, have ideas, and I send over idea, and they tell me can change that and fix that, and so I like it.
Well, that's the beauty of technology nowadays and the internet. It's just made it so easy to be able to do that stuff, especially with being able to, in real time, do stuff.
Yeah,
Especially with things, I mean, like Skype and that, it makes it incredibly easy to do these things.
yeah,
Sorry. I mean, even for myself with my interviewing, it makes it so much easier. I mean, I wouldn't get any of the content that I get
mm,
if it wasn't for the advancements of things like Skype and that. It's absolutely brilliant
yeah,
for what it allows.
yeah. It's great, and I when I was younger, of course, I was in a rehearsal room with the guys, and but I, it was harder for me because I like to sit, at least in the start of the songs, sit alone and do my stuff before I hear anyone else's opinion about it. So for me, it's great.
Can it be sometimes quite difficult to pass over the material to the next person? Because I mean, it would be your baby. It'd be something that you've written, and you'd be fairly protective of it.
No, no, but I always think about it from the beginning that this is for Primal Fear, or it's for Starbreaker or whatever it is, and if they want to change anything, I'm always okay with it. And if I have an idea that I think it's so fantastic that I don't want to touch it, or I don't want to change anything, then I maybe save it for my own stuff then. But normally it doesn't happen.
Yeah. So the fact that you do a lot of it as a session musician, and a lot of it is just writing and that. Do you actually get to go out and play with a band?
Yeah, I did tours with Primal Fear, but not so much now because I have small kids and stuff. So I don't want to tour that much. Primal Fear is not, it's not a weekend band. They go away for a long time, and I'm in the middle of family life, so I prefer to work more in the studio, and they are really nice to me, you know. So they accept it, and they have another guitar player that helps them out, so they can tour without me.
Oh, that's awesome, eh? And, yeah, I mean, I've got little kids too, so I completely understand. You don't want to leave them, do you?
No, not too long. Everything over 1 week is really painful to be away. I mean,
Oh, I completely understand, eh?
I mean, if I was 20 years, I wouldn't think twice about it, but now it's different, you know.
Oh, that's exactly right. And kids and that are the they inspire you as well. So it's got to help your creative juices as well.
Yeah.
Um, and happy family and everything helps anybody to be the best that they can be in any field.
Mm, absolutely.
Excellent. So we've briefly covered that. With the the solo stuff, are you going to take any of that out on the road at all?
I don't know really because it's so hard. I was thinking maybe if I would do it, I guess it would be something like Avantasia that I could choose maybe a couple of singers. But even that are quite hard because I remember from when I did Alan Lander stuff, we got really great offers from festivals and stuff, but it was impossible to get the two singers at the same time, and they are touring with their own bands, so it's not easy. But if it's possible, I maybe I will do it in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's I mean, because like you say, there's just so much variety of people on there, and they come from all across the planet.
Yeah,
It would be quite a logistical nightmare.
yeah, and they are all singing in great bands that are touring a lot, so it's not easy with the schedule.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine. Excellent. So, as a young person, what was some of the what inspired you to start writing or picking up the guitar and what inspired you to or made you want to become a musician?
Yeah, when I was younger, when I started, I wanted to be, you know, a great guitar player. That was more important than to be a great songwriter. So I practiced a lot, and I tried to play not only metal, but you know, jazz and folk music and fusion and everything. But now, since the last maybe 15 years, I concentrate more and more on songwriting instead. And I still think it's great to play guitar, but it's not my main focus anymore. Because if I had the best guitar solo in the world, nobody will care if it's a crappy song. I think so. Uh, but it's if I have a really good song, it's you know that's more important.
Oh, that's awesome, and yeah, I completely understand because I mean, like you say, you can write you can have the greatest solo ever if it's going over a crap song, it's not going to come out as anything, is it?
No, I don't. Even the guitar players won't care because they need a great production, a great sound, and a great song, and a great singer. That's why I like to have these great singers because I think it's so important for a song to have a good singer.
Oh no, 100%. And I guess that's the interesting fact of quite often in bands, it's the writing and everything is split up. Like there'll be a musician within the band that does all the music, and then there'll be the singer who'll do all his own lyrics.
Mm.
So it must be. I mean, it'd be a little bit easier, I guess, in that way when you're writing the whole thing, because you get the full picture rather than having Tony write half it and hope like hell that the singer gets it right.
Yeah, right. But sometimes I split it, with Primal Fear, or when I work with Tony Harnell in Starbreaker, he's doing all the lyrics, and we share the music. He writes some melodies and I do some melodies, and that works great too. So it's not that I have to do everything on my own.
Yeah.
When I work with great guys, it's not a problem. And also now with Tony Martin on this new album, he said he wanted to co-write, and he wanted to change the lyrics and stuff, and that was great. The song became even better, so I didn't have any problem at all.
Oh well, that's right. Because sometimes another person's mind can see things from a different angle and give another interpretation that you wouldn't have even thought of.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. So, you say that you wanted to be, when you first started and you got inspired to play music, that you wanted to be like a great guitar player.
Yeah.
Who were some of your heroes or some of the people that inspired you right in those early days?
I listen a lot to Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and that stuff, and when I got a bit older in my when I was a teenager, I started to listen to guys like Steve Vai and Steve Morse and that stuff. So, but yeah, uh, those big bands from the 80s. They have been an inspiration for me all my life. I think you can hear it in my music. I listen a lot to Dio and then Queensryche and Def Leppard, or all these bands.
Music's changed nowadays, and there was something special about that time. And
Yeah, it was, and it seems like they don't write the same songs anymore. Even if some of the bands still play, and they don't write the same songs that they did in the 80s.
well, that's it. I mean, Judas Priest is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Their stuff is completely different now, but it's modernized. But sorry, but it's definitely quite changed from their original stuff. But I mean, I guess they've progressed with the way metal has changed. I mean, because metal way back in those days, in the original days, was extremely different to what it is now.
Yeah, in a way, but I think many fans want to. They still like it, like it was in the 80s, even if maybe the production sounds a bit different today. So, uh, so when I write songs in that style, people always seem to like it, and uh, I'm not feeling that I'm stuck in the 80s, but I really like the way music sounded. So,
Oh, dude, there's nothing wrong with that. I
yeah,
mean, like I say, I mean, I'm a big fan of the 80s metal.
yeah,
And that was what I was brought up on,
yeah,
and and it's quite cool as a reviewer. I get a lot of music that comes across my desk, and it's really interesting to see how much homage gets paid to that time.
mm,
And there's some guys that do it extremely well, and then there's a few that do it pretty crap.
mm.
But I mean, for instance, there was a band I believe from Germany called Scavenger, and oh, dude, that their sound, although it's modernized, there's so much Judas Priest and Iron Maiden inspirations in there, and it was absolutely brilliant album. I fell in love with it when I listened to it. So there's there is still a lot of that stuff around, and
Yeah,
a lot of people are paying tribute to it, thankfully, because it was a great era,
yeah,
and yeah, thankfully a lot of those bands are still going.
yeah, yeah. That's great. I don't know if you heard of it. We have our festival here, Sweden Rock Festival, and they have all
Yep.
the old, bands like Priest and Kiss and Whitesnake, and so it's great.
I'm a big fan of a band called Striper, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and I know they played it recently as well, and yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I mean, do you get to go play that yourself, or do you just go hang out and meet some of the bands and stuff like that?
Yeah, I played there with Primal Fear a couple years ago. That was great. Primal Fear, it's a German band, but I'm here from Sweden, so they came with flying from Germany, and I came after. I was in the parking lot with my guitars, and I couldn't get in because the manager was already inside, and I told the guards, yeah, I'm playing in Primal Fear, yeah, it's a German band. Yeah, I know, but I'm from Sweden. I'm the guitar player. So it was tricky, but I came in and I did a show. So,
Wow, they make you wait.
yeah.
Oh, mate, you see, the lives of a rock and roll star ain't all glamorous, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, wow. Well, because that's quite a big festival, and I mean, I I see that that festival advertised as well as you get the downloads and the walk-ins and things like that. So, I mean, the Europe festival scene is definitely um, uh, quite big over there. I mean, we don't have anything quite like that here in New Zealand,
Mhm.
but you know, it must be fun to play that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's so big, so many people. I played Vakin too, and it's. I think we had a crappy time in the middle of the day or something, and still it was, you know, it's so many people. It's so big, so it's great.
Oh, I can only imagine, and I mean, and that as a metalhead, that's sort of where I plan to have a pilgrimage at one stage to get over there and do some of those European festivals because, I mean, there's some huge stuff, even like the Rock AM festivals and that, you know.
Yeah.
There's some really cool stuff that happens in Europe, and we don't get to see any of that down here in little New Zealand. But that's all good. So, yeah, back to the your heroes and all that sort of stuff. Um, who was it most that sort of inspires you now as a musician? I mean, because we've talked about the people when you started, but who would be? I mean, sort of like the modern players or somebody that's still around that still inspires you hugely.
Yeah, I think it's. I get inspired from everything. You know, I listen to classical and folk music and pop music, and if I hear a good song, I don't care what it is really. But of course, I listen a lot to hard rock and metal too. So I can get inspired from anything I hear on the radio, but especially if I hear a really good singer. So and many of the greatest singers I think you find in metal. So. But you mentioned Striper. I listened to the new Striper album. That's a great inspiration. They has I love the sound, and Michael Sweet. He has this awesome voice, and they really. That's a good example of still sounding, you know,
Yeah.
a bit 80s.
Well,
But
that
in
was it.
a great way. It doesn't sound old. It just sound great.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of Striper for a very long time, and yeah, I think that their latest album is yeah, it's right up there. They've definitely modernised, but at the same time they've kept that old feel.
Mm.
And I know that they went through a slightly well, I wouldn't call it a rough patch, but they went through a time there where I think they struggled to and tried to reinvent themselves
Okay.
and but I think that they've come out the other side absolutely brilliant. And yeah, I mean, I love Michael's voice. I think he's just. And the thing with him is that it's still just as strong as it was 20 plus years ago. So you know,
Yeah.
dude, man, can that guy scream?
That's awesome, and it's great when it's a singer you only have to listen for 1 second and you hear it right away. It's him,
Yeah,
and that's a great quality.
it was. I actually really enjoyed. He did that Sweet Lynch thing, which was really cool as well, where
Yeah,
he worked with
absolutely.
George Lynch. And dude, you
Yeah,
know, it was interesting. He talked about. I was seeing an interview the other day and how he wanted to do stuff with Van Halen and that because he's now stepped into doing producing and everything.
mm,
So he's really trying to spread his wings, so to speak.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see what they come up with next.
yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Oh well, I've got one more question for you
Yeah.
before I let you go, and that would be I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what's some advice or words of advice for young musicians and young people.
Yeah, it's a little bit what I said before, that don't focus too much to be just practice on your instrument. I mean, it's good to if you can handle your instrument, but it's not the most important thing to be really really good and practice scales all day. It's more important to find, the good riffs, and it doesn't need to be hard. It could be easy riffs, uh, and focus more on the music and focus more on the band, and not so much on the technique. And uh, and I mean, it's great to be. I'm very happy that I practiced for many hours when I was younger. Um, so it's good to have it, but it's more important to focus on the songs. Absolutely, and find a good singer. I heard many bands, when you hear a new band and you start the song and you say, "Wow, this is something great," and then you hear a singer that's not so good and you stop listening right away, because you don't want to hear it if the singer isn't great. So that's so important.
Oh, I can't agree. That's absolutely awesome, and I agree 100%. And it's quite interesting, yeah, because I mean it's got to be the whole package, eh?
Yeah,
Um, when it comes down to a band, you want to. And what I actually finding interesting about what you're talking about is the way. I mean, because for me as a as a non-musician, I the first thing I listen for is guitar. I just love guitar.
yeah,
Um, and so when I hear a good guitar, I'm not too fussy about the rest of it. If this is a mean guitar, I like that. But it's really interesting to hear you talk about how there's the guitar, and you listen also for the vocals as well. Um, I guess it comes down to preference or what you're into, but yeah, it's just really interesting to see what people actually pick out and listen specifically for.
yeah, and work on the sound. I mean, I can imagine if you listen to the guitars that it's not only how fast they play, or if the riff is really cool. I mean, if it's a great sound, you listen more to the guitars too. So I worked a lot lately, or the yeah, for some years now on my sound, because I think that's also very important. If I have a good riff and a crappy sound, it's hard to deliver it.
Oh, well, that's right. And a lot of it, I mean, you can be the most technical guitar player in the world,
Mhm.
but if it's got no feeling there,
Yeah,
and if you've got no soul to it, or, anything like that, no essence, it's like, it's just another guitar player,
yeah.
you know.
And there
Um,
are so many that can play fast. So
well, that's it. And, just because you can play technical guitar doesn't mean that you can play guitar,
no,
if you know what I
I've
mean.
seen hundreds of guitar players on YouTube that they are so fast and so great, but you don't know, they don't play in a band. You don't never heard of them, because they just play fast, and they don't have the other stuff. So
Well, that's right, and that sort of proves that there's so much more to it than just being technically able to do it.
yeah,
There's the music is um, more about soul and feeling and things like that rather than just technical ability. I
yeah,
mean, technical ability goes a long way. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
That's why I'm
yeah.
not a musician, but at the same time,
It's
yeah,
not enough.
feeling. Sorry.
So yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not enough to only have that part. You need